Good morning. This is Adrienne from Jaskiran Astrology, and I am here today to give you my perceptions and perspective of what's going on with today's new moon in Leo. It's today, later today. I'm on the East Coast. So in the East, it's at 3:11 in the afternoon. Um, and it's at 2 degrees and 8 minutes of Leo. But what's really interesting is that we have several things that are at 2 degrees, and it's significant. So I do want to pull up the chart and let's give me a reference point for what I want to talk about. And yeah, here it is. So yeah, it's an interesting chart. So a new moon in Leo. So before I even start, here's the 2 degrees. The other point that's two is Neptune. So there's an exact sextile, but that the opposition point, the polarity point of Pluto, is also at 2 degrees and really sits right on this new moon. And what is significant about that is that Pluto is the bottom line of our evolution. It's the desire of the soul for why we've all come to Earth. And it's individual and it's collective, because the collective drive for the evolution of humanity happens through the individual. So we each are going through our individual evolution, which is going to drive the entire humanity forward. And really, the direction of that evolution is at 2 degrees Leo. And so as we find the sun and the moon there, I find it to be very significant that we are beginning this new cycle of heading toward the evolution of ourselves and of humanity. And so let's talk about Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun and also the fifth house, but it is the energy of shining your light, just like what the sun does. It shines your light. It's your purpose. It is your authentic self. And the thing about authenticity is that when we've lived in a culture that has very particular rules and ways of acting and ways of presenting yourself, um, what happens is we submerge parts of ourselves so that we can fit in, so that we aren't, put out or made to feel embarrassed or any of these things. So this it's conditioning. We get conditioned from the time we are born through our parents, and they are conditioned by the culture. And so the conditioning just moves forward, and we assume the conditioning. So Pluto, this guiding energy that humanity is going through at 2 degrees of Aquarius, and it's been retrograde for a little while, and will continue retrograde for some time. But what Pluto is wanting us to do is to break free. Aquarius is about freedom. It's about innovation, doing something different. And it's wanting us to break free from the conditioning, and to really, direction of the evolution being Leo, is to really step into that true authentic self. Problem is that many of us don't even know who that self is, because we have so many layers of conditioning. And I feel like that's what I know from my personal experience. Over the last 5 or 6 years, I've been going through this journey of shedding the layers of conditioning and really working toward becoming a truer expression of myself. And I believe that all of us are doing this to some degree, unless we have some blocks and that can happen as well. We all are here to do and experience different perceptions of this reality. So Pluto, now that it's retrograde, is really accelerating this energy. It's accelerating it. It's like we have to break free. We have to individuate and become our true selves. And it's like the heat's been turned up in the retrograde. Things are happening very, very quickly. I don't know if you've noticed that in your own lives, but this acceleration of becoming ourselves, our true selves, and really shedding the layers, we're not going to accept um, being conditioned into a way of being. So many people are, for example, feeling like they can't work in a particular job anymore, or they can't stay in a marriage, or something has to change because it doesn't feel authentic from within. What this new moon is telling us is that we are beginning a brand new cycle. All new moons are new cycles of really being authentic. And another thing about being authentic is that we get to validate who we are. We get to show what that truth is. When we put that validation outside of us, we run the risk of having somebody not validate us. And that can make us feel in a way like our light is dimmed, or like we're not being heard, or we're not being seen for who we truly are. And so this is a brand new cycle of stepping into this energy of authenticity. Okay, so then the next thing that I really want to talk about here, because we are being pushed to be our true selves, is the mind. Mercury is retrograde. It's been retrograde for a little while now, a few days. And it's in Leo. Now it's past the point of the exact conjunction. We'll call it a new phase um, energy here. It's the beginning of, so Mercury is the mind, and it's our perception. What Mercury does is gather information around us and um, gives us the idea of what the reality is. It gives us our perception of the reality, but it's the gathering function. It works in opposition of the Jupiter or Sagittarius function, which gives you your whole world view from the various bits of information. So I find it really interesting that Mercury touches nothing. And it's just an entity that has shown up. Now, during the full moon, it mm, 2 weeks ago, it was also not touching anything. Now that it's retrograde, what this means is we are accelerating our ability to perceive the reality from within our hearts, literally our hearts, Leo, and to really focus the thought process, and what we are focusing on is internal. And this is generally true with Mercury. Mercury, when it's going direct, focuses on the external information, making sure we're safe. Oh, there's a broken glass over there, for example, and that alerts us that we either have to clean it up or avoid it or whatever, however we're going to discern that information. When Mercury is retrograde, or when any planet is retrograde, it's an acceleration, and it's the ability, well, not any planet, I take that back. When Mercury is retrograde, because its normal function is to look outward, when it's retrograde, it's looking inward. And Mercury will do this 3 times in a year. So there's an inward shifting that goes on with the information that's being collected from outside. What I found very interesting about this chart is that there are 5 separate planets that are focused on the mind um, at this time. So Uranus has moved into Gemini. Gemini is is ruled by Mercury. It's the Mercury function. It's about perception, and it's about communication, and it's about points of view. And basically, when Uranus moves into Gemini, we are breaking apart, breaking free from a perspective of reality. So that I find to be very significant. The next planet, Venus, is also in Gemini, and Venus is the planet of relating. It's how we relate. It's our relationships, and mm, it has two. It rules 2 signs, Taurus and Libra. So it's about how we relate to the outer world and also how we relate to ourselves. And in this relating, it's also in the energy of Taurus, it's about survival, and it's about what we need to survive. And whatever we need to survive relates to our values. So values and needs are aligned with the thought process right now. And when Venus is in Gemini, we are very much attuned to new information, which is interesting and makes sense to me, because if we're breaking apart the information that we've had, it's like leaving a void for new information to come in. So Venus is like bringing in new information. So perhaps we are meeting new people that have new information for us. Um, we are experiencing new experiences, perhaps new jobs that have new information. Um, but ourselves are bringing in this new information. So we're breaking apart information. We are um, drawing in new information. Now I'm going to skip all the way over here because there is a square between Venus and this conjunction between the South Node and Mars. They're both in Virgo, and Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. So this is, again, 2 more planets. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planets that are focused on this Mercury function. Let's go ahead and talk about this South Node and Mars. So the South Node, let's talk about Virgo first. Virgo is the energy of self-perfection. That's generally what people will say about it. It's also as an opposition to Pisces, where Pisces represents the whole, the source of all things. Virgo represents the parts, this different parts of the thing. So when we separate out the parts of any particular whole and perhaps line up all the parts, very oftentimes there'll be a hierarchy of importance. Um, and for me, I've got Pluto in the North Node in Virgo, and I can say that as a child, I would sort things. My mother was always happy because I could take everything out of the linen closet and put it back into order and arrange it in a way. And it's something that I just have inherent in me because of my alignment. However, when part of the shadow side of Virgo is this energy of being superior or inferior, when we're looking at the whole, everything is sort of equal. We're all equal parts of a whole. But when we are seen as separate, we automatically get put into a hierarchy. And this can be a problem. We can either be on either side of the hierarchy. We can see ourselves as superior to another or another thing, or we can see ourselves as inferior. I think a lot of the problems that we've had in the world is because we have South Node seen ourselves self-identified with Virgo. We are working our way through moving from that to integrating, seeing ourselves as whole, as part of a whole. Um, During the full moon, Mars was on the other side, and we were closing off the energy of acting from a place of inferiority or superiority. And now Mars is on the other side where we're just beginning. This is a new phase conjunction. We're just beginning a new cycle of exploring how to live in the Virgo energy differently. It's a new way of exploring this. So perhaps we're going to see, I mean, it's like seeing the things as separate is not a problem. It's just that when we only see our things as separate, ourselves, our everything as separate, it can lead to destruction. It can lead to dehumanization. And we're seeing that in the world. We're seeing that, we can wipe out a whole species of creature because we either deem that that creature is dangerous or something is more important than that creature's habitat, etc. I could go on about all of that, but we'll skip it. I'm just really pointing to the energy that we're going to be acting in with Virgo energy in a very new way. Um, and so let's see, where are we going? Let's talk about this conjunction down here, Neptune and Saturn. So they are also both now retrograde. And like I said, when we have a planet that moves retrograde, we are accelerating and individuating that particular energy. So with Saturn, it's about authority. It can be about internal or external authority. Pluto had recently moved through Capricorn, where it was really changing our external authority. During the times that Pluto was retrograde, we were really building up our internal authority. Saturn retrograde is really accelerating the ability to define who we are, Aries. Who are we? It is, we are coming to a point in our human history, in our evolution, where we get to define for ourselves who we are and who we are to become, which is interesting because, oops, let me slow that back down. It's a trine to this new moon and the Pluto polarity point. And so we are getting to decide who we are. And this energy is really coming from within. It comes in from the heart. So in Aries, we have this, we know we have this special purpose, but we don't know what it is. In Leo, we really discover that what that special purpose is. And so this Saturn retrograde is really helping us to discover what that purpose is. It gives us the opportunity to outline for ourselves who we are. Neptune is the energy of the dissolving back into the source. So it's like it can be very dreamy, it has no boundaries. It's the energy of what can be created. And so this energy is accelerating as well because it's also moving retrograde. And what that means is that when things are back into the whole, we really have the bird's eye view of what has come before and what it's about because we've seen it all. It's like when you watch a movie in the very beginning, you don't know what that movie's about and you can't make an opinion of it. It has really no meaning to you until you've watched the entire film and then you have a perception of what the whole thing was about and you can decide, wow, was that a meaningful movie or was that a not a meaningful movie? So Neptune has moved into Aries where we are bringing the dream into a reality. And now it's moving retrograde, and we're getting to experience that and discover meaning about it, what kind of meaning it is and that it has for us. Um, and it's very nebulous. You know, we haven't really gone into this discovery of who we are, and we're sort of lost in the oceans of meaning and no meaning. We haven't really placed any meaning on who we are becoming yet because we haven't yet become. And so many of us, including myself, may be feeling this sort of like limbo kind of energy um, about who we are and what we're supposed to do next. But at the same time, we have the ability to create that. And that is this energy that is supporting and coming through this new moon in Leo. We are really at the starting gates of creating who we are to become. So when we look from within, and I want to talk a little bit about the moon here because the moon is about our emotional world. And when the moon is in Leo, our emotional worlds are really aligned with our hearts, what we feel. Jupiter is working its way through the sign of Cancer, where we are really expanding what our emotions are about, what our emotions can really do for us. And my perception of this chart is where we have been guided through the mind for so long. The mind is really what is exalted. You know, the mind and our thought process is very linear. It's all about logic. And that also has led us to the Virgo energy here. I'm going to take this off so we can see the whole chart again. That has led us to separate things out. And so part of Jupiter, and I've been talking about this since Jupiter went into Cancer, is that we are really expanding our ability to feel. Our feelings are the heart is another mind. We have two, and our emotions are a signal to us of what is happening from within, while our eyes and our ears and our external senses bring in information through the Mercury function. And what's happening here, according to Mercury, is we're coming into our hearts. Our hearts are where we feel the emotion. And Jupiter is expanding that perception. And what I think this mind thing is about, we're breaking apart how we've used the mind, perhaps, and we're bringing in new information. What is this new information about? Well, it's about the information that's coming from the heart. Mars says we're going to adjust the way that we discern our information. Why? Because we are taking in information that is, ooh, I do want to point out, oh, I'm going to skip that. Um, we're taking in information that's coming from another source, and we really have to adjust how we're going to use this, how we're going to um, incorporate these two things into our navigation system. Um, and this is part of the individuation because each of us are different. Each of us have a different point of view. Each of us has a different purpose. This is part of the Pluto journey. We can't any longer follow what the external world is telling us because the external world is telling us all the same thing. We have to wear a mask. We have to submerge parts of ourselves to experience the world because, and it's why we have depression and we just are anxiety. We're not really able to express what's truly within. So that's what this new moon is about. We're about really coming into the heart, feeling our emotions, using our emotions and our minds together to determine the direction to go. And it's very new, it's very nebulous. We're not really sure how this energy is working, but it is linked to the healing of stepping into our own selves, Chiron in Aries, which is square to Pluto. And it's about really stepping into that energy, allowing our individuality and the discovery and the healing of our true selves. So you may find yourself pulling away from the outer world. You may find yourself being in this, like I said, nebulous place where we're really not sure what to do next. That's okay. Sit with that. We want to feel the emotions that are coming in. It's it's giving you information. And because Mars is in a new phase to the South Node, it's different. We're gonna have to sit with it as it begins this working through us. So yeah, I see this new moon as a change of heart, as this really beginning of individuating who we truly are, a shift in perception about who we are, and really just the beginning of standing up and being our true selves. And it's interesting because here in a few days, we'll be at the peak of the Lion's Gate where we can really put that energy forth. And so there's an excitement. I don't know if you all are feeling an excitement. It's a swirl of energy, of emotions that are happening right now. And um, yeah, my advice is to just sit with it, and stay aware. Be aware of your feelings, be aware of what's new beginning to twinkle in the horizon, and be open to the shift. So yeah, that's all I have to say about this moon, and I hope that this resonated with you, and if not, pass it on. Uh, and thank you for listening to me. Um, Here I'm back. Yeah, so I have posted my moon report, which is a more detailed version of what I talked about here today. And I will link it in the comments below. Also, if you're interested in having me look at your natal chart, you would uh, come to my website, and we can arrange a time to look at your chart, and I can help you discern what is happening for you with these energies in particular, because it will be affecting everybody differently. So, happy new moon to you all, and thanks for listening.